What's something that is common knowledge at your workplace that will be mind-blowing to the rest of us? I work a lot with the LGBT, lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender community. If they have put themselves at risk of HIV infection that is unprotected anal or vaginal sex in most cases, though there are plenty of other ways HIV can be contracted, they can take a course of HIV medication called PEP, post-exposure prophylaxis, which you can take if you have been at risk of HIV infection, and if you start taking it within 72 hours of putting yourself at risk. It may be able to prevent you from becoming infected with HIV. Please can people arrow this up, so people especially young LGBT and heterosexual people are aware of this, and that there is something they can do to prevent HIV infection. http://bit.ly/of Here is a link to the best of subreddit post for this comment in case anyone was having doubts. PEP, post-exposure prophylaxis, is 100% legit. Who? Link. PEP medication. The course of medication is not cheap and can cost between $600 to $1,000 if your insurance does not cover it. If you live in the United Kingdom, PEP costs you absolutely nothing, as well as many other countries which offer free healthcare. There are also strong side effects which can make you feel seriously unwell, though this should not put you off if you believe you have been exposed. And please remember, HIV can take from anything from 3 months to 6 months to appear in blood tests, as they are testing for the antibodies you produce to fight HIV infection. Please do not presume once you have started the course of medication within 72 hours that you're 100% clear. You need to wait up to 6 months for a clearer picture. I work for a major ink and toner manufacturer. Guys, really? Just stop goddamn printing stupid sheet. You don't need it. You are getting raked over the coals, even by me selling remnants to you at 40% off. A 5,000 milliliter bottle of our most common ink costs us $120. HP 60s are our most common cartridge. They will only hold 6 milliliters. We sell them for $10. Also, those cartridges are garbage. For the love of everything you find holy, stop buying HP's junk. They are made to fail to make my job harder, and since they fail on the consumer too, they just make their lives harder. Why keep giving money to a company that is actively malicious towards you? Buying an inkjet printer that is an ink tank style system will save you countless dollars and headaches. If it is a Canon or Brother, Lexmark and Epson are made to self-destruct and are also less cost effective than Brother or Canon. These new HP 950/951 self-destruct. The 564/920/940 didn't, but HP made those all to be miserable to operate when using remnants for many integrated printhead or drums. In the case of toners, cards, you pay a premium to replace the printhead each time when you don't need to. HP 21/27/56 carts have a page counter on them of somewhere around 2200 to 2500 pages. I've had older 56 stop working for customers due to the page counter before the printhead wore out. My test machine doesn't check the page counter, so it can give me a perfect print, but the actual printer will check the counter. Also, in those 21/27/56 cartridges, HP changed the composition of the ink to where it pretty much destroys the printhead. These make my job miserable at times, but I have worked it out to have about an 80% success rate on them now, so /rude HP Lexmark, Epson, and HP, and Kodak, but lol, all have self-destructing cartridges. Epson for a while had self-destructing printers. Lexmark also installs a process called LEXBCE that makes your print spooler dependent on it. Good luck. Lexmark are the highest cost to operate printers by far, the least reliable / lowest quality, and the most scummy company out of the bunch. Brother are generally the least expensive and have the least issues because they keep things simple. An inexpensive to operate Brother will suit most any home consumer's needs. I'm not being paid by Brother, I just like that they are the least crappy to the consumer. Honestly, the only time I recommend something other than Brother is when my customer wants to print photos, then I recommend a Canon ink tank style system. The current generation are the PGI 225/Cle 226, and they are good little cartridges, and I have sold hundreds, and can count the chip failures on one hand with fingers to spare, and those even shocked me. Now please Canon, don't make me look like a fool. Point. If you can find an old HP printer that took the 45/78 cartridges at Goodwill or wherever for cheap, it's probably worth the investment to grab it. Yes, the 60s are cheaper, but the 45s OEM are $35 for 42 milliliters of ink, where the 60s are $15 for 6 milliliters. You are getting conned hard on cheap ink. I'm looking at you too. Kodak Point, Lexmark and HP send out firmware updates without your knowledge that disable your ability to use aftermarket products that are entirely legal to use. Remnants are. Counterfeits are not. I'm sure it mentions it in that YOLO you didn't read. Point. My job is far more complicated than just shoot some ink into it, no matter what those stupid advertisements from HP claimed. Everything gets electronically tested, cleaned thoroughly, tested again, filled under vacuum, and tested again. Just shooting ink into it works about 1% of the time. If the cartridge just ran out of ink. Point. When I tell you I need your empties back to keep up my stock, I mean it. I'm not trying to screw you out of your little office maximum rewards. I need your empties back to do my fiend job. Point. Finally, one of my good friends works at a big box office supply store. Stop grousing to these people about the cost of ink. There is almost no markup on it whatsoever at the retail level. If you're paying $40 for a stinking 12ml Lexmark 16 at Staples spent probably $39 on it. Point. Some of this, while mundane to me now, elicits a response from my customers. So hopefully it fits into the discussion. Point. TLDR, I know way too much about inkjet cartridges. Edit. Wow, I wake up to tons of comment karma. Thanks. Also, so many comments and PMs, and even a request for an AMA. I'm trying to get to everyone, but I'm at work right now. Edit again. Holy crap, you guys have made me feel so much better about a job I was honestly very frustrated with. Lexmark and HP send out firmware updates without your knowledge that disable your ability to use aftermarket products that are entirely legal to use. Remnants are. Counterfeits are not. I'm sure it mentions it in that YOLO you didn't read. Point. My job is far more complicated than just shoot some ink into it, no matter what those stupid advertisements from HP claimed. Everything gets electronically tested, cleaned thoroughly, tested again, filled under vacuum, and tested again. Just shooting ink into it works about 1% of the time. If the cartridge just ran out of ink. When I tell you I need your empties back to keep up my stock, I mean it. I'm not trying to screw you out of your little office maximum rewards. I need your empties back to do my fiend job. Point. Finally, one of my good friends works at a big box office supply store. Stop grousing to these people about the cost of ink. There is almost no markup on it whatsoever at the retail level. If you're paying $40 for a stinking 12ml Lexmark 16 at Staples spent probably $39 on it. Some of this, while mundane to me now, elicits a response from my customers, so hopefully it fits into the discussion. Point. TLDR, I know way too much about inkjet cartridges. Edit. Wow, I wake up to tons of comment karma. Thanks. Also, so many comments and PMs, and even a request for an AMA. I'm trying to get to everyone, but I'm at work right now. Edit again. Holy crap, you guys have made me feel so much better about a job I was honestly very frustrated with. Diamonds, specifically engagement rings. So many people on Reddit think their diamonds are a scam because people posted/told stories where they tried to sell a ring either to the original jewelry store or someone new and were offered much less than they paid for it. Point. This is because of multiple reasons. A. Jewelry stores don't sell a lot of engagement rings. Your sale may have made their day, week, or month. Point. B. Commission. Salesperson gets it, manager gets it, etc. all marking up said ring. C. When a diamond is loose, it's able to be resold based off of a pretty much set price, based off of the current diamond exchange prices. These are traded and sold like commodities of various qualities at various discounted rates. When a stone goes into a mounting, it becomes jewelry. It is less a diamond and more sold as jewelry. Think art. so the price can be very high. Point D. No one wants your old engagement or wedding ring. It's bad juju. Unless it's so sentimental for your kids to receive it, or 1920s Cartier. The jeweler will break it apart and get a diamond cutter to cut out the smaller accent stones, melt the gold, and either reuse or sell the diamond or diamonds. Edit. My figures are often exaggerated. They are fixed now. Let's say wholesale. This diamond is $2,500. The side stones are $500. The gold is $100. And it cost $200 to make the ring. So $3,300 wholesale, maybe $6,000 at the local jewelry store. When you try and sell it back, the jeweler will give you maybe 60% of the main stone value and a set value for the mounting, because he's buying it for parts to make someone else's jewelry. If the jeweler that sold it to you bought it back, they'll pay the most because they made a profit from you originally. Another jeweler isn't giving you more than the wholesale value to buy the ring because he can buy another wholesale ring instead. Many times it pays to sell it privately. That pair cut or mark cause you're wearing is out of style. I'm sorry if you got it recently. That means your fiancé got taken. Jewelers can't get rid of markers. Someone who doesn't know much about diamonds was in love and bought it for their fiancé. Many times the woman knows it's not fashionable but likes it / madly in love, so they let it slide. Though many are returned the next day to swap them out for a newer style cut. Diamond cuts are fashionable, and the current ones are the most desirable. Diamonds are graded by color, cut, clarity, and carat. These all make up the price. Please read about these and how they affect value when purchasing a ring. Unfortunately, many people see a big stone in a mounting that looks white because it's surrounded by diamond accents. When that diamond is loose, it could be pretty yellowish. Diamonds have to be color graded when loose. A diamond has a color letter grade. The best is D. Always know the color. Think your friend's wife has a sick rock on her finger. If you look at it up close, it may look like ice on the inside. That means it's heavily included. That is less desirable because of poor clarity. Many people sacrifice color and clarity for size because size is the best method of showing off or showing love. Always ask for a Giasert or even EGL, but they are not as good. Exaggerate stone qualities. This is the stone unbiased blueprint. Jewelers trust this piece of paper so much, they'll buy $100,000 stones just from seeing the paper, as long as the stone matches the blueprint. You'll know what you're buying if the stone comes with it. Point. I hope these have been helpful. Any questions, please ask away. I don't know if this is mind-blowing, but it drives me crazy at work. Technology companies don't give a fuck at all about your privacy. They regularly steal / take data and use it for internal analytics. The only part of privacy / security that they care about is what you see. Point. Facebook, this isn't to blame them, but it's true, has convinced everyone that taking and using users' data is totally kosher. Be aware. Edit. There is a great diversity of opinion on this, and that is fine. The company I work for is a small startup, about 45 people. Our CEO and marketing guys just want user data and don't care about anything else. This isn't to say that the data we keep is enormously sensitive, purchasing patterns and things of that type, but nowhere do we inform the user that we are gathering their data. We also collect user emails for a specific purpose, sending receipts, but I have seen these used to send unsolicited spam. Point. It is not true that all companies do this. I think Apple has the strongest record of the big companies in protecting privacy. But it seems very common among small companies and especially startups. These guys are desperate to make it rich and do not always have great respect for their customers. They very often take the view that their investors, or really their next investors, are their real customers. The point was made about Facebook. If you're not paying, you're not the customer. You're probably the product. Point. I think the key thing is letting people know that you're collecting and using their data in a straightforward, plain English way. Almost no one does this. Edit. When it comes to security, I stand by what I first wrote. It is almost always only after a huge security leak, see LinkedIn or Google Wallet for recent examples, occurs that a company will start to impose strict security. All those apps you download that have any of your data, some dude wrote that and very likely did spend an extra month making it safe. A major cell phone company talks about going green, yet ships a 2x 1-inch box of SIM cards in a 12x 10x 8-inch cardboard box full of packing material to their stores. iPhones come in a cardboard box, which is surrounded by foam, which is framed by cardboard, and put inside another cardboard box. Only iPhones are shipped this way. When you buy something in the store, 2 of almost every receipt gets printed automatically. The extra sets are shredded and thrown in the trash. There is an email receipt option directly above the print option, at least in the city I work in. 10 stores, this option is not used. Ever. Employees in stores are required to handwrite their sales numbers on a form each day at the start of their shift. At the end of their shift, this form is to be filed in a separate folder for each employee. At the end of the month, the forms be removed from the folder, shredded, and thrown away. The forms are never looked at other than the day they are created and the day they are shredded. Every piece of information on each form is also written on an extremely accessible whiteboard in the back of the store and is updated daily. Customers are actively encouraged to drive back to the store with any questions about their device or service, instead of calling into customer care, because it costs the company more. If they call in, customers are actively discouraged from buying what might be a better fitting device for them if it works on an older part of the company's network, because the company has spent billions on the newer network and doesn't want to support the old parts anymore, even though the new parts do not encompass the entire coverage map yet, thus screwing customers who do not live in areas supported by the new network, since the speed of the old one is degrading at breakneck speed. Employees were trained on how to better recognize what might be the best phone and matching accessories for a customer, then immediately told to ignore said training. The only reason the training ever happened was so the company could say they trained their employees on better customer relations. Every store in the entire western United States had any technicians removed from the stores over 2 years ago. All the customer service reps were repurposed over a year ago. End result, if you walk into a store with an issue with your phone/account, you are going to talk to a sales rep who has only ever been trained to sell you things. He or she knows nothing about fixing your phone and only wants to convince you to deal with the problem, put a band-aid on it, or replace your handset at a cost to you. If you call into customer care or tech support, these channels have not been informed that the stores are completely bereft of any form of support. They are still told that customers can go to the stores to get help so that they can be sold something new. Until recently, employees in stores were required to show every single service available to every person who walked into the store. You just want to buy a car charger? Too bad. You are getting pitched a new phone, several accessories, a mobile broadband device, and a tablet. Once you say no to all of those, 20 minutes later, then you can buy the car charger you came in for. That'll be $30. This ended recently after customer feedback scores fell to somewhere around 7%. In essence, this major cell phone company has done everything it can to be as harmful to the environment as possible, short of dumping old handsets into a bonfire, and actively encourages its employees to make the customer experience as terrible as possible, in the name of grossly increased profits. From working at a kennel, a lot of places only have a few sizes for coffins, should you want the kennel to bury your deceased pet for you. If your pet is too big to fit one, he/she will be made to fit in at working at a few vets. I have no idea how common knowledge this is, but I had no idea until I worked there. But if you see an injured animal on the side of the road that isn't yours, you can bring it into most places and they will treat the animal at no cost to you. If the animal dies, it will also be buried at no cost to you. Good Samaritan laws or something like that. If your animal has gotten into illegal drugs, just tell us. We don't care. Our business is treating your animal appropriately as fast as possible. Just faking tell us. It will save you money in the long run, since we won't need to go through so many wild diagnostic measures, and your poor bull-stripping pet can get its system cleared before anything too bad happens. If your cat is in for treatment and bites one of us, and has not had, or is overdue for its rabies vaccine, its head will be taken whenever it dies, if it is available, and will be shipped off for its brain to be studied. Edit. Correction on my part, the animal will be contained for a week or two after the bite, and if it shows symptoms, it will then be euthanized and put down. Sorry for my mistake. This is purely personal, but if your pet is at a certain elderly age, 12 plus, and having major issues, please just consider euthanization. The amount of money you'll spend on the insane amount of treatments to keep your pet alive for another few months is not worth it, and the amount of suffering the animal endures from all the treatments is also not worth it. So many animals come in that really would be better off going peacefully into the bright light, but owners just can't let go. It's frustrating to watch. Former prison guard here. Point: most inmates do not have access to weights more than 2 to 4 times per month, and only if they've earned it with good behavior. The going rate for cigarettes on the prison black market is $100/box. Point: if you are willing to go a few years without any friends, and if you have about $100 a month of expendable income, depending on your crime, you can go your entire sentence without being in a fight or joining a gang. Rap happens in prison, but it isn't nearly as common as it was 30 years ago. Inmates have an anonymous hotline they can call if they want to report a rap, and now there are cameras almost everywhere except for cells. That's where most rap happens, and there's not a lot prison guards can do to stop it. 95% of what you see in prison TV shows or movies is creative thinking. Point: your first day in prison, I do not recommend picking a fight with the biggest, toughest looking guy in prison, or fighting with the first person who's an asshole to you. It won't make you look tough. More likely you'll just go to seg for a few weeks before getting kicked out into a new unit where you'll have to do it all over again. Instead, find out who is in charge of your race. If you're white, it'll probably be Aryan Brotherhood or Peckerwood. Then either join up or ask how much it costs to be protected. This is called paying rent. You won't make any friends paying rent, so plan on reading a lot. If you don't have the money or the desire to be extorted, you can join the gang. I wouldn't recommend this unless you're going to be down for a long time. You'll start out on the bottom of the prison gang hierarchy. After an initial training period of working out, you'll be asked to do hits on enemies of the gang. The shot callers will tell you who and when you'll be attacking, and you'll be expected to follow through. The problem with this is that you'll likely be given additional time on your sentence, so if your goal is to get out of prison, this isn't the recommended route. Plus, you'll be required to get gang tattoos, which will make it difficult to live normally after prison, and are often accompanied with Hep C, HIV, and TB. Point: it depends on the state, but guards in the towers are carrying weapons with live ammunition. Prison guards tend to be rednecks with fairly good aim. If you are going to kick someone's ass, don't do it in the yard. If you are perceived by a tower guard as putting someone in a position of substantial bodily harm or risk of life, you will be killed. Perimeter towers are also armed with live ammunition. If you are going to try to escape, your best bet is tunneling out, or stealing a guard uniform, or impersonating a staff member, etc. Over the fence will probably get you shot, unless you have friends who have bribed the guard in the tower. If you're in for anything sexual, you're gonna have a bad time. TLDR, don't go to prison, it sucks. You can always haggle a plumber's price down. If it's in the lower end of small claims court cash, they don't want to waste time in court with you for less than $1,000 or more. Point: if you ever decide to sue somebody, or if anyone ever decides to sue you, you'll get a front row seat to see exactly how private all of your information is. Yes, it is true that you need to sign very specific documentation to release your info to exact parties, although honestly, when you go to your lawyer's office, you'll sign a fat stack of them and not even read them, or have your POA do it. They could write one to anyone, and you'd probably sign it without blinking. And many organizations won't release this info easily, especially employment records, banking information, etc. I bring this up because our medical data, the stuff that you think is of utmost security and is protected like crazy, an unusually high number of offices will release that information to anyone with no documentation. Try calling a few doctors and telling them that you're obtaining records for a law firm. I guarantee you a bunch will just ask for an email or fax number. Those offices are busy, and they get hundreds of requests like this a year. They just want them over and done with. On a similar note, if you go and see a doctor, best believe that the front desk / support staff knows every single interesting detail in your chart, and then some, from cork size to STD history, anything shared with the physician and beyond. Doctor-patient confidentiality exists, but the unspoken dynamic is doctor-patient receptionist confidentiality. We smile and act like we know nothing because we are professionals. Yeah, I've had a lot of jobs. Dear sir, when did yelling and anger become such a big part of customer service? There's a reason we no longer say the customer is always right. Insults and degradation are not actually included in my job description, so I'd appreciate it if you'd treat me like an actual human being. As soon as your abusive behavior begins to keep me from polite customers willing to accept my assistance without yelling at me, I will cut you off without so much as a backwards glance. It is no longer cost effective or efficient to help shitty customers. Why should I try to talk over your loud, abusive, and sometimes racist complaints when I could be assisting another person who actually wants me to help them? As soon as you get shitty with me, I want you out of the way. If that means I have to say no until you hang up or stop emailing, I'll do so. It's quicker than helping your poor impulse control. I'm not your therapist. I don't care if you learn how to control your anger issues. That's not my job. Keep that shit out of my backyard. I'm not here to fuck you over. I'm trying to make a living wage by helping the people that contact me. If I appear new, it's because people are shitty to everyone who works here, so the turnover is a little higher than normal. I apologize if someone was shitty to you that day or week or life, but it was not me. Thanks for reading. Customer support dick. There are flame retardant chemicals everywhere around you. Mattresses, all foam products, baby furniture, just about any furniture in your schools, homes, offices and even your cars. They will slow the burning of the product down by a few seconds, but that's it. They are pretty useless. To add to it, if your house is burning down, the smoke will own you. They are very stable chemicals, so they enter your body and don't really ever leave. When I say your body, I'm also talking about your pets and your babies, especially. This is because these chemicals are not bound to the furniture and end up in the dust in your homes. And who is closer to the ground than your pets and your babies? They will cause cancer and thyroid problems and tons more other problems. The companies that produce these chemicals spend tons of money to get laws to pass through lies and scare tactics to require the use of these chemicals. They pretty much laugh in your face because they have so much money it is nearly impossible to stop them. Even after years and years, when you finally build enough evidence to ban a few of their chemicals, they will just make a slightly different chemical to replace it. TLDR, there are flame retardant chemicals in your home, schools, offices, cars. They don't do anything. They are horrible for you, wildlife, and the environment, and there are laws to keep them there because the chemical makers are evil, greedy and rich. I'm a bit late to the game, but I'll give it a shot. I work at an adult store that specializes in high quality, body safe products. We are the only store in our city that takes medical referrals. The following aren't exactly mind-blowing, but every day I talk to customers who are shocked to learn these industry/product tidbits. First and foremost, it is very likely that in the country that you live in there is little to no regulation regarding the manufacture and distribution of adult products. Many companies take advantage of this and produce toys and body products that are not made of materials that you would want in and around your body. This can lead to any number of sketchy things ending up at stores, including toys that are made of porous materials that are nearly impossible to disinfect, lubricants and lotions that can cause tissue damage/permanent desensitization/infection, and plastics that straight up leach toxins. For example, phthalates are bad for you in a pretty serious way, so much so that a lot of places are looking to have them banned from being used in the soles of shoes. The vast majority of soft, rubbery sex toys you will find in your average adult video store contain phthalates, as it's way cheaper to make toys out of these plastics than from safer materials. This means it is up to you to protect yourself when buying such products. If the package of the toy you're looking at doesn't say 100% medical grade silicone/stainless steel/abs/elastoma/borosilicate, etc., it's probably best to keep looking. If a lube claims to heat/cool/tingle/desensitize, in most cases it's best to just avoid it. If you have a toy at home that you aren't sure about, cover it with a condom. When you use it, most condoms, unless labeled otherwise, are lubricated with silicone lubricant. You'll see why this is important in a second. On that note, Cyber Skin looks awesome and feels like the real thing. It's also very porous. Keep that in mind when you're buying a replacement Fleshlight Point silicone lube as condom and body safe, and super popular with customers as it does not get tacky like water-based lubes do. While a pretty awesome product for use on your body, it will damage silicone toys. If you wash it off the toy right away, chances are you won't notice a change, but that formerly safe toy is now porous and will retain bacteria after you've washed it. If you don't wash all of it off, that toy will melt to the bottom of your bedside drawer. I've heard from a few customers who were more than a little surprised at the seemingly spontaneous disintegration of their toy. If it's going to be around a toy, use water-based lube. If it gets tacky, instead of using more lube, just add a sprinkle of water, Ninja Edit, or some spit to the lubricated area, which will reconstitute the product. No need to waste lube. Women should avoid using oil/oil-based products in or around their vaginas, despite what a lot of trendy books and magazines have said lately. Our vaginas do a very good job of keeping themselves clean and bacteria-free. Oils inhibit the natural flushing process of the vagina, allowing infection-causing bacteria to flourish. You would not believe how many women come into the store claiming that every time they use lube they end up at the doctors with horrible infections, only for us to find out that they've been using baby/vegetable/massage oil in lieu of an actual lubricant. It should be noted that I get the occasional customer who swears that they've been using oils for ages and haven't had a problem. If this is you, it's possible that you have a different body chemistry than most women, but it's more likely that you're just really lucky. In this, as in most cases, a good quality water-based lubricant is your best bet. That $10 deal you bought at the Bourne store down the street is probably made of old tires, and the lube that came with it is made from the tears of a 7-year-old factory worker in China. I work at a major pet store retailer. You know absolutely nothing vital about your animal. You buy horrible treats and food without batting an eyelash or doing some goddamn research. We do carry some sheet products, mainly for the customers that can't afford the actual things that would benefit their pets. Yep, contrary to popular belief, most, if not all, employees care about the animals we sell. Don't let Peter fuck with your brain. We may not know where the bird/hamster/reptiles/fish come from exactly, but we try and socialize them, care for them, and take care of them when they are sick just like our own pets. Do not ask which pets bite the least. They all can, and will bite your precious little baby. Getting a 4-year-old hamster is possibly the stupidest thing you could do. That, and expecting your young child to be a responsible pet owner. You will be taking care of this creature, so to your goddamn research point, working in a large pet retailer isn't the best job in the world. Sure, we get to see pets, but we also have to deal with the staggering ignorance of the owners. More fun tips: retractable leashes are a death trap, and you look like an idiot using one in a small building. Training your dog is something that should come as a requirement with dog ownership. Watching the dog whisperer does not make you an expert. Your fish will most likely die because you wanted to buy a tank and just put them in there right away. Wait at least 2 to 4 days to let the tank cycle. Also, bring in a water sample. Most pet stores will test your water. Turtles enjoy eating fish. Sorry your kid had to watch that because you failed to ask. You are overfeeding your animal. Former new car salesman here. Try to buy a new car without a trade-in. We will try to steal your trade-in and probably make more money on its resale than we did on the new car. Linger on the lot first before entering the dealership. You can have an honest, no bullshit conversation with the salesman outside without the bosses listening in. Realize that dealership is not a non-profit organization. They will sell you a car for less profit if they want to. Just don't make a ridiculous offer. It's true, you can get a better deal on the last day of the month and closer to closing time when you enter the dealership. Once you find that car you just fell in love with and you're now in the dealership, it's game time. Be straight up with the salesman. Tell him to go tell his manager that you're willing to buy the car today for $400 over invoice. If he shows you the invoice, check the VIN hash on the invoice to make sure you're looking at the true invoice. for the right car. If the salesman comes back with a counter offer, just say thanks for your time and get up and start to walk out. Believe me, they won't let you walk out if they really need to sell a car that day. If you do happen to have a trade-in as part of the deal, when the salesman comes back to talk business, he will be without your keys. An old trick. You can't leave without your keys. Demand your keys before any negotiations take place. There are more tips. If you want to ask, go ahead. Edit. $400 over invoice is a good deal for both sides. And if the dealer won't do it, another one will. Ms. and Mr. Smith didn't know about it, or if Mrs. Jones had Twilight on hold, but Mr. Jones thought anyone who read that crap deserved a beating. No, it's for your own privacy that we won't tell other people what you're reading. Some smaller rural libraries don't do this, but they really should. The same goes for why we require you to have your library card or some form of ID when you check out, especially if you're checking out for someone else. I've heard husbands rant and rave at me for not letting them pick up that book their wife had on hold, and actually, I did let him, because I knew him, but said just this once: next time, make sure you have her card, but that's another story. Thing is, we have had it happen where a half of a splitting up couple will come in, check out hundreds of dollars worth of material for my spouse, and never return them, sticking their spouse with the bill. We've also had biological parents do this to adoptive parents of their kids. We don't track your reading history. We'd be legally obligated to give that info to the FBI if they ever came asking, so we simply don't have it. I'm sorry, I don't know what books you checked out last year, but it's for your own privacy protection. You can usually opt into a checkout tracker from your online account, but you have to do that, and only you can access it. We also don't care if you have fines. Honestly, if you're not going to finish your book in time, but you can get it in a couple of days late, keep it. Pay the fine. I don't know of any library with exorbitant fines, especially not on books. Some do for DVDs. At my libraries, fines were $0.10/day/item. That book you return 2 days late will cost you $0.20 whenever you can pay it. We are not picky. As long as it's not a massive fine, you won't ever get in trouble for it. Once you pay it, it's off your record. That's it. Please don't argue that that book cost you $0.20 when you already pay taxes. You read an entire book for $0.20. You held it longer than you agreed to. $0.20 won't even buy you a piece of candy at a checkout or a plastic ring from a vending machine. Please just pay it. Even if it was a legitimate mistake on our end, you're giving your library $0.20. Now, if it's a bigger fine and a legitimate mistake, by all means, argue it, but there's no need to upset people over less than $1. The library will use that fine to help pay for the library. It's not a scam, we promise. We want to be nice people at the library. We really do. If you've been reported to a collection agency by the library, we are sorry, we really are. But books and other materials are expensive. Library funding is being cut all the time, and material acquisition is one of the places the budget gets trimmed. The less money we have to spend replacing items that were never returned, the more we'll have to get you new things. Please, if you screwed up and lost something, just let us know and pay us. We can do installment plans, if necessary. We only report you to a collection agency as a last resort. Case in point, my mother's library, she is also a librarian, has over $50,000 in never returned items. They have a budget of just $10,000 for new materials. They can't even afford to replace everything missing, much less provide new things for their patrons. Libraries are suffering. Please don't make things worse. TLDR library policies are there to protect you and keep the library afloat. Please don't ask us to break them. Also, new renters or new tenants, I highly recommend that you go over every inch of your apartment before you move in and mark any defects, from cracks at window sills to linoleum tile discolored. If you don't receive move-in sheet, write it down yourself and take a copy to the leasing office with your own copy. Have it signed by the property manager or endorsed person in charge of daily operations in the office, community managers, rental managers. Take pictures if you can. Be detailed about everything. Why? because when you move out, you can potentially be charged with defects that were there before you moved in. Do the exact same thing when you move out, so you are comfortable with knowing you documented everything you are comfortable being charged with. And for God's sake, leave screws and nails where they are. I've seen chunks of walls missing because someone wanted to patch the holes and remove the nails. That just makes extra work for us. By keeping these move-in and out lists, you are potentially saving yourself extra charges against your security deposit point. Also, when you first move in and you notice your bathroom fan doesn't work, your kitchen light flickers, and a toilet is running, mark those separately so they can be written up as a work order and not left to get worse because you put it on your inspection sheet. We try to catch them all, but some things do get missed. We are not perfect. Coffee at fast food joints sits for many hours. Many hours. Most employees do not care enough / know better to change it out when it has the consistency of muddy oil. If a frozen patty is dropped on the ground, chances are it was still used if no one saw them do. And hell, as long as those who did were not a manager or a customer, it would be so very easy to sneak into some stores without ever being on camera or knocking out the cameras before they saw you. Once in, it would also be simple to do whatever the hell you wanted to the food / safe / office supplies. It is amazingly simple to mix up people's orders when you are trying to meet your boss's expectations for speed of service. Get a car's order taken and their food out in 90 seconds during lunch. Fuck you. Most cleaning is done with a dirty rag and old water. The employees put up with more stupid bitchy people than you may realize, and I'm honestly surprised more employees do not go on homicidal rampages. McDonald's quality of food is actually some of the best out there, and chances are, is equal to or better than what you get at the grocery store. It is the lower end fast food joints that do not have first dibs you have to worry about. Point from fast food to airlines, your glasses and silverware are washed, but probably not clean. Same with everything else that gets washed via the dishwasher. Spots and stains are wiped off, and the above are sent off anyway. Flight attendants are faking morons. If any of you are flight attendants, I apologize. I'm making a brash generalization, as almost all of the ones here are common traits from both hand washing and sanitation, only when your boss is around. And most importantly, the employees really do not care about their job or you, and more often than not, probably hate you. Working for a bank, if you ask for a settlement that is less than 40% on any account, it will be denied outright. We get 40% from the loan regardless if the loan defaults, whether it be from an outside collections agency or legal action, plus it gives us a reason to never loan to you again. Also, most banks do not work with the settlement agencies that advertise on TV or anywhere for that matter. You're better off asking for a settlement of 40% by yourself and saving the money on lawyer fees, etc. If they say no, wait a month or so and ask again. The longer the debit is on the books, the lower most banks are willing to settle for. Note, this does not work for secured debit or business loans. At least, for the bank I work for. We would rather take the item, home, car, CD, and have a reason to never work with you again than settle. As for business loans, I once had a manager, more like division lead, but not sure of exact title, tell someone who wanted to settle an account at 80% to sell their Porsche and pay off the loan in full. As for checking accounts, if you get a check that bounces from someone you don't, or maybe you do, know and spend the money, banks do not consider it to be fraud. It's classified as a scam, and we hold you responsible for getting the money back. Fraud is only considered as someone stole your bank account information without your knowledge and you're willing to prosecute them. That means if you gave your family member your PIN number and they took all your money, you are shit out of luck and have to get the money back yourself. There's probably more, but these are the two biggest things I deal with every day. Movie theater employee here. Want to correct some common misconceptions. No, there is nobody actually up in the projection booth anymore. It's all projectors on timers now, unless you're still watching movies in a third world country somewhere XD. When you come up and ask for popcorn, and we turn around to get an already full bag of popcorn from the merchandiser, and you stop us in our tracks and scream, "No, I want a fresh bag from the popper," you're being an ass. The popcorn is constantly changed, and it's all fresh virtually within minutes of each other. All you've succeeded in doing is make your order that much longer while we shovel out a bag of popcorn that is actually colder because the poppers don't have heaters in them, whereas the merchandisers do. Hence that popcorn that you didn't want is actually going to be warmer and taste better for those of you that consistently bitch about the concession prices being so high in movie theaters. Here's some fun trivia. Movie theaters actually only make precisely 1% off the sale of every movie ticket. The rest goes to Hollywood. Every theater's bread and butter is in the sale of concession items. That's how we make money, pay our bills, feed our families, and pay the ridiculously high monthly power bill it takes to run a major theater. So we have to charge that much in order to come out ahead. Yes, we do get free passes in to see movies, and we get free small drinks and 50% off concession items. And occasionally we even get screenings of movies before their release date. I saw the Avengers one night before everybody else in North America. Kids are often far and above much better customers than adults ever are, because unlike whiny, grumbling, miserable adults who are mostly there just to get away from their crappy lives and take it out on us. Sounds like I'm generalizing, but believe me, I'm not. I see these people in droves every day. Kids are there to excite their imaginations and be truly wowed and entertained by something, which makes them that much more fun to serve. Apart from the occasional brat lol, I often put on a routine and try to entertain the kids as I serve them. I pointedly imitate a character from whatever movie they are going to see, or say something funny, which helps make their entire experience at the movies that much more fun and magical. TLDR, no projectionists, STFU about concession prices. It's necessary. I get free movies beach, and adults suck. I used to sell new vehicles a few years back. You can ask for just about anything you want, and as long as you're nice about it and are willing to do something in return, you will most likely get it. 56 TRF example. Every single customer that counter offered on a vehicle was asked to provide a credit card for a partial payment. It was basically the dealership saying, "How serious are you about this vehicle right now?" without having to say it. If you want all season mats thrown in the deal, hand over your card and we'll do what we can. It worked this way with every single thing. The catch is that we cannot run your card without your permission, so there's zero risk to you in doing it. But if you do, you'll likely get something out of the deal. If you're asked to do it, do it. It's in your best interest. Also, the cost of the all-season mats was usually just rolled into the price anyways. $500 mats over 60 months is only a couple of dollars a month, and most people didn't even read the final purchase agreement. So my real piece of advice is to read the contract. If you ask for free oil changes, car mats, rust proofing, etc., I will say sure, we can do that, and then just charge you for it. Read the contract. Legally, every single thing must be in there. Also, tell them you won't pay the admin fee. It's extra commission that no one ever negotiates. $400 for me to write your name on another piece of paper? Sure, that sounds rational. Wrestlers, more often than not, are actually hitting each other. And sometimes, outside rivalries do end up with two wrestlers legitimately fighting in the ring and kicking the shit out of each other. Google Mike Levy incident. Incredibly NSFW. The blood isn't fake. We use small razor blades to cut our foreheads, which mixed with sweat makes us look like we're bleeding more profusely than we actually are. Although sometimes we can go hard way, where the skin is legitimately broken and we are just bleeding for real. If you want to make someone bleed profusely without inflicting too much damage, aim for above their eyebrow, swinging downwards and making contact with the point of your knuckle. The eyebrow will pop like an overripe tomato. Most of us, except a small minority, aren't actually that strong. Most of our training is cardio and learning to make an attack look more painful than it is, other than some of the ridiculous stuff. You totally should try this at home. It's fun as all hell to get drunk and suplex each other. If you see us outside the ring, use our ring names, even if you know our real names. Otherwise we'll assume you're either a stalker or a schmoozer. There's a big difference between hurt and injured. Every wrestler you see that's fairly active is in pain almost constantly. It's an unavoidable fact. If you need to jump off something high, land with your foot flat on the ground, and do not land heel first. You will ruin your legs. This is one of the most common wrestling injuries. CCTV, video security cameras are getting a lot better. Even in the 90s, a dome camera in a 30-foot ceiling was capable of zooming in close enough to read the small print off of your wristwatch. Moore's Law is doing amazing stuff with cameras now. A camera has intelligence built in, called analytics or content analysis. Some cameras are smart enough to recognize when a bag has been left behind on the floor of an airport, or recognize the behavioral difference between a person returning to the car park to pick up his or her car and a person who is casing a car park in order to steal a car. This built-in intelligence allows fewer security guards to watch larger systems. CCTV systems in big chain stores might not have a security guard watching video in that store. Instead, the video is piped back to a central security office, where it is aggregated, and a few guards can monitor many stores at once. Point about those black camera domes in the ceiling of your favorite store chain, like Walmart. Usually less than 1/3 of those domes actually have a camera behind it. The camera set is the most expensive piece of the unit, but the smoked plastic dome is dirt cheap. Also, the power supply where the camera set plugs in, called a back box, is relatively inexpensive. So a smart chain store, Walmart, for instance, may have over half of these domes populated with the back box, but without any camera system. That way the cameras can be moved around when needed. Point: there is one place where there is always a camera. Every register will have a camera watching it 24/7. Most registers have their data stream hooked into the camera. Whatever is printed on the receipt goes into this data stream and is synced with the video feed, so that anyone watching the video in replay can see a sweetheart deal where the cashier rings up a $1 bag of Cheetos instead of a $50 Black & Decker drill. Point: this is done because the biggest threat of loss comes from the employees, not the customer's neatest bit of technology. Using a 30 or 60 megapixel CCD in a video camera and storing the video to hard drive. This allows security to pan, tilt, and zoom the video during playback. I used to work at Starbucks. You can make your own faking lattes and flavor sheet for a very small fraction of what they charge you. Example, you purchase a Grand Caramel latte. It has 2 shots of espresso, 2 pumps of caramel flavor, and the rest is steamed milk. Point: this drink costs a little over $4 with tax. Point: what you don't know is that pump of caramel flavor that you can buy straight from Starbucks has a 1-year expiration date, and it costs $7.25. Yes, you could buy one entire faking pump for what it would cost you for 4 squirts of flavor in a drink. My parents used to make themselves mochas every morning. My mom had a double shot, and my dad had a quad. 4. They ended up buying their own espresso/milk steaming machine because it got expensive. They saved over $3,000 faking dollars a year just from buying that machine, which has lasted like 8 years, and making their own damn drinks. Oh, and Ghirardelli chocolate powder is so the best for mochas, not that nasty syrup Starbucks pumps in there. Oh, and by the way, I always felt so bad for the poor fools who ordered Cappuccinos. It's just a latte, except instead of 80% milk, 15% espresso, and 5% foam, you're getting 15% espresso, 45% milk, and 40% foam. And you pay more for this. Point: and another also best thing on the menu is a caramel chai latte. It's spicy and sweet at the same time. Tastes like Christmas. I've worked all over the place, like a career temp agency worker. I've been to so many different places and seen so much shit. First, don't write fragile on your package you're sending. If you do, wrap it in bubble wrap or something and treat it as if it has to survive a war. When it gets to the mailroom distribution center, we see fragile, we toss it around. We are not paid enough to care, and the supervisors say that's what insurance is for. Everyone loves to hear the sound of something that doesn't belong to them break. Second, while food manufacturers have health inspectors, etc. to make sure no foreign contaminants get in stuff, that's not the end of the line. Once it reaches the warehouse, nobody is coming to inspect anything. In the warehouse anything goes. Anything. Let me repeat, anything. Point third, you would not believe the sheet living in your attic right now. Your house was probably poorly built, under insulated, and you likely have stuff living in there you couldn't imagine. Fourth, While not so common knowledge, as nobody ever cleans the damn things, restaurants/fast food places have these grates in the kitchen that the guy cleaning the floor uses as a drain. If opened you will find bugs and stuff in there you could never have imagined. Excited. I swear I once discovered a new species at a famous burger place with a red head for a mascot. Fifth. Most no-name brands and the high-end expensive brands are exactly the same product with a different label. For example, in Canada, a Laura Secord chocolate bunny that costs way too much is exactly the same as a low-priced Life brand. Different box. This applies to every food manufacturer. They all do it. Hell, most brands of insert food here come from the same factory as their competitors. I will likely think of more things and keep adding them. I also currently work as a mental health practitioner and there are many misconceptions about the field. 1. Many people wrongly believe most therapists/psychologists are there to give advice. Sure, there are styles such as CBT where assignments are given to help work on a behavioral issue, but in terms of life events, pathologies, and problems we don't give advice. We might ask questions and say things to try and figure out what might be helpful to you or what you might do if you could to fix things, but we are not advice givers. 2. People often think people in therapy are either self-absorbed rich snobs who have lots of first world problems or are completely psychotic, a large Jack Nicholson in OFOCN. In reality there are plenty of normal people in treatment. At the same time we do have both of the stereotypes clients. You don't need to be crazy to benefit from therapy. 3. Another misconception I've noticed is that people don't realize just how severely disturbed some people are that come to outpatient facilitates. There aren't many inpatient psych wards these days, and so there are many truly psychotic people on the streets walking by you every day. Some come to places like where I am, yet looking at the place you'd never suspect it. People think hallucinations, delusions, etc. are just in the movies or air and only locked in some psych ward, but it's a lot more common than you'd think. 4. If you read online, people often rate therapists/psychologists as good/bad, based on the ability to call the professional anytime and reach them, or have contact outside of the sessions when I need it. This is usually counterproductive to treatment and those who engage in this are sometimes causing more harm than good. A good mental health professional is caring, professional, and manages time well, but keeps some distance. You're paying a professional for a session time in which you expect some treatment for your mental health woes, not for a friend you can call up on a whim. Plus these overly available therapists don't do much for clients with impulsive tendencies, poor stress management, poor coping skills, or boundary setting issues. A good therapist isn't cold, distant, or bad because they only interact with you during session or only return calls. If there is a true emergency or scheduling issue, they are good because they are doing what is best for your treatment. I work at a luxury hotel and really have 2 tips for anyone who travels. If you book a room through Priceline, Expedia, Hotwire, etc., most times you don't guarantee yourself that room you said you wanted. Instead you just guaranteed yourself a room, and at that point it is up the hotel to determine what kind of room you get. Once you make your reservation, call the hotel and make your preference for room type known because these companies are terrible at relaying that information to us. We always try to put you in the room you want, but if we are full occupancy and someone else paid the full room rate and did guarantee themselves that room type, they are going to get it over you, and there's really nothing we can do to help you at that point. If you are traveling with a large party or need specific sleeping accommodations, pay through the hotel. I can't stress that enough. This should go without saying, but anytime you go anywhere hospitality related, restaurants, hotels, etc., be nice to the people you talk to. Like most all other luxury hotels, we have a per guest budget that we are allowed to use to make their stay more enjoyable or correct any problems they have without ever even talking to management. We are empowered and encouraged to do what we want/need with that budget to make a guest's stay better, and if they make our day better we'll typically return the favor. I can't tell you how many times I've given someone a complimentary upgrade, free things, or even bought them a meal for simple things they do. When you come to check in/out of a hotel, don't just stand there on your phone or be silent. Try and talk to us. By conversating, being polite, and breaking the monotony of our lives, you brighten our day. Brighten our day, and we'll do something to brighten yours, because we can point. If you have a problem, don't throw a fit. Things happen and they sometimes get overlooked. If you bring something to our attention and again, are nice about it, we very often will do something to compensate you, and then some. If you throw a shit fit, we are typically going to do the bare minimum to correct the problem. Think about it. If someone comes up to you and is literally yelling in your face about something, typically very minuscule, you're going to be a lot less likely to want to help that person than if they were understanding and polite about it. Former telemarketer here, specifically fundraising for various charities. There are a few things you should know that a surprising number of people I called did not. Never donate over the phone. You are either talking to an illegal fraudulent scam artist or something that is technically legal, but takes 95% of the money. We do everything in our power to guilt trip you and make you commit to or send money right now. Think if you want to donate before you do. We actually have the phone number and website for whatever charity we represent. Take that information if you are interested. However, most charities that use our services have outrageous administration costs and give a small percent to the cause in question. Again, always research before donating. If we ask for your credit card number, then it's an illegal scam. Never give your credit card number to someone you don't know/trust. If we send you something in the mail and you agree to pay, just ignore the mail when it comes. Nothing bad will happen, and most people do that anyway. As someone else mentioned, if you are polite, firm, and clear you will not give us money, we will hang up and put you on our no-call list pretty painlessly. If you make an excuse or are hesitant, we will just give you a rebuttal from the script and still try to sell you. We'll often tell you that the charity is doing a drive or once a year fundraising. This is complete baloney to make you think you have to donate right now. We are just trying to make money and don't like bothering you any more than you do. Everything we say is directly from a script. It is neither personal on your end or ours. If you're polite, regardless of whether we make a sale or not, it is greatly appreciated. Even if you hang up right away, we'll more than likely stop calling you and move on. If you yell at us, it just drags the whole process on, and sometimes that is more annoying than the yelling. A few telemarketers may even mess with you or keep you on the call list to get back at you. In summary, always be polite for your advantage as well as ours. 2 things specific about fundraising telemarketing. If you have donated to anyone for any charity, you'll be put on a list for a dozen similar companies for a dozen charities each. We are fully aware, but will act aloof if you mention it. The second thing specific about us is, since we represent a not-for-profit, most do not call list don't apply to us. We have our own, however. If the sale takes a while, even for donations we still call them sales. We may ask you personal questions and start a conversation. We honestly don't care about you or whatever we are talking about. We are just trying to make a connection to make it harder for you to say no and get your mind off whatever you're hesitant about. If we mention a similarity, my cousin lives in that state, I used to work for their company, ECT, 9 times out of 10 it's a lie. Last but not least, most new people will sound very nervous on the phone, mess up the script, and know literally nothing about what they are talking about. There is no way to avoid it but practice. Also, even if you're talking to an experienced telemarketer, we are a third party and will know nothing about the charities, save what is in the script. If you have a question, you really need to call the charity themselves. I know this will be totally buried this late in the game, but airline pilots typically don't make more than $20k/year until they have been with a company for 3 to 5 years, and even then it doesn't go up by much. We are typically worked like dogs at all hours of the day and night carrying whiny people and under constant government regulation pressure. Bus drivers usually work less hours and get paid twice what we do. A pilot and co-pilot have to meet the same flight currency requirements and typically split the flights. One will fly one leg and the other fly the next leg. The only distinction between the 2 seats is that the pilot, left seat, usually has more experience and seniority and, as the captain, will make the final call on any big decisions regarding the flight. The airplane is his/her responsibility, whether he/she is physically flying it or not. You don't have to be super smart to be a pilot. Their ratio is about the same for dumbass pilots as it is for dumbass drivers on the ground. Safety is one of the biggest pressures we deal with, even though we are asked to sometimes fly in not so good situations. Every 6 months, our licenses are on the line as we have to prove to the FAA we are capable of handling our aircraft when all shit hits the fan. FedEx pilots make a lot more money flying packages than most pilots make flying people. All of that said, it is a job I wouldn't trade for the world. Through all the stress, and being away flying is still my passion and has the best office view in the world. TLDR. Pilots are usually glorified bus drivers who make sheet pay under a lot of stress, but it is worth it. This is maybe not mind-blowing, but I want the world to know this. If you end up in the hospital, you need to understand a few things. First of all, it's not a hotel. Nurses are not room service, concierge, or maids. We have a job to do, and if you are capable of doing something for yourself, you will be expected to do it also. You will not be allowed to stay in bed all day. You are expected to participate in your own care. And that means getting yours in a chair, to eat your disgusting hospital food, amongst other things. Secondly, most nurses carry a patient load of 6, 8 patients, and probably you are not the worst off. If you have to wait for a few minutes for some help to the bathroom, consider yourself lucky that you are not the patient who is getting a catheter. And when your nurse or doctor walks in your room, get off your goddamn cell phone. Don't even think about texting someone while a nurse is trying to do your care or assessment. Thirdly, a hospital is a public place. Don't get on your cell phone and start cursing and talking about inappropriate things. Be respectful towards your roommate, your nurses, the doctor, and your mother. I'm constantly amazed at how many patients are rude to their mothers, and yes, I will say something. And finally, and maybe most importantly, the people who are taking care of you actually care about you. Very few people go into healthcare for the money. It's a calling for most people, and nobody knows how shitty the healthcare system can be more than the people who work in it. Try to remember that when you are getting frustrated because you don't think we understand, or you're not getting results fast enough, or you have to wait longer for things because the unit you are on or the resource you need is short-staffed. Lifeguard here. Most of us have never had to rescue someone, at least a critical issue save, and we are scared shitless when we do. In fact, most of us skip a beat whenever someone jumps in the water or is holding their breath underwater for a long time. So if you think your lifeguard is being an artsy because he/she keeps blowing their whistle at you, it's because they really don't want to have to save you. And we will save you if you look like you're drowning, whether or not you are. We really can't tell the difference sometimes between innocent roughhousing and actual drowning. Most of us are not proficient in first aid, and our job really is just to get you out of the water and call 911. Also, guards have to sit or stand for a long time, and although we get breaks every hour, we are usually out there 3 to 10 hours a day. In fact, I got a 12-hour shift coming. We are tired and it gets boring, and with crowded pools, it gets really stressful at times. So please just follow the rules and know that they do actually have a reason. For example, don't jump off a diving board or go down a water slide with goggles. The difference in pressure between the water, the inside of the goggles, and your eye socket can cause your eyes to be ripped out of your head. So some simple rules like don't wear goggles on the diving board actually have some pretty faked up reason why you shouldn't do it. Lastly, we are often nursing a hangover at work. TLDR, lifeguards are actually scared shitless most of the time, don't know a lot of first aid, often hungover, and pool rules usually have damn good reasons to be followed. Edit. That was mostly a rant. Didn't expect it to be this long. Banks do not actually have a lot of money on hand. I would guess that at least 35% of account holders have more money in their account than some banks will have in the vault at any given time. If you want to withdraw $10,000 in cash and need it immediately, we do not have that money. If you come in 10 minutes before closing on a Friday to cash your check, we probably cannot give you all hundreds for your paycheck because we most likely ran out of hundreds around lunchtime. Just because you have had an account for 10 plus years and have, insert what you think, is a large amount of money here in your account, does not mean you get whatever you want when you want it. If you want $1,000 in brand new $2 bills, call ahead. We don't keep every single denomination currently in rotation in both new and used bills just in the off chance that someone will need them one day. If the ATM doesn't print you a receipt, I can't help you. If it turns off during your transaction, I can't give the ATM a stern talking to and make everything better. I can call a technician to fix it in the next day or so, or have you speak with customer service, but I did not personally take your check without printing a receipt. I, in fact, was at the teller window with no customers while you used a machine to do what I could do faster and more efficiently. I may work for a horrible national bank, but I'm not to blame for everything. I hate my job. I hate what my company stand for. I hate all the sneaky bullshit they do to fuck over their clients. I'm just a teller. I need a paycheck. I have no control over anything as those assholes have complete control over me. I don't even have the power to give you more than $5,000 without someone else's approval, let alone waive some fees or break the law. And finally, it is not my fault that you didn't read the terms and conditions of your account before and after opening it. It is not my fault that you were charged a fee that was written in black and white 100 times on the papers you threw in the garbage after leaving the bank with your new account and your shiny new debit card. No one told me about a fee. Doesn't ever work. Because we are legally obligated to give you every single fee you are capable of ever receiving in writing upon opening your account. Edit. TLDR. Banks don't have a ton of money. Tellers are not the ones foreclosing on your house, and most fees are actually your fault. I used to work as a bill collector for Fingerhut. They would sell shit to low-income people, like glittered dragon mirrors and day Learnhardt furniture on credit. Finance fees were something like 75% and late fees were something like $25 recurring. Payments were as low as $8 a month for some shit. The options we had as bill collectors included eliminating all accrued finance and late fees. This was basically just standard procedure, if anyone not being belligerent on the phone. The high fees were just a scare tactic Fingerhut never expected people to honor anyway. Basically, we would wipe the slate clean and reduce monthly payments to only $1.50 a month or even less. If people would only faking talk and not act like animals on the phone when someone talked in a professional tone. This is how all those "we'll get your debt under control and stop creditor harassment immediately" tough talking commercials work. In fact, you pay less by going into collections and talking to a collector for 3 minutes than someone who's never late. The simple truth is collectors don't care about Fingerhut's money any more than some owns debt. An 18-year-old is on a computer/headset who can just type a value and check a box and all the late fees and finance charges go away just by asking. It's true. Also, you won't be called again. If you get some new kid who won't negotiate low enough because they think they are building a career climbing the majestic corporate ladder of low-income collections, just stick to your lowest amount and be calm. Eventually they have to accept. They just can't be easy about it, because if a supervisor is listening in, they'll get in trouble for not bullshitting enough to say they tried. Don't hang up, and don't tell them to fuck off or it'll be in the notes, and the next person you call will fuck you over for being a prick. Do not ask for a supervisor unless they're representing the call. They are never supposed to end the call. That supervisor person is just another collector who has more seniority in a company where most people didn't stick around for 2 years. They have to accept any amount, even a penny. As a criminal defense investigator, my job is not to try to get you to say you lied about the charges. If you are a victim or witness, I need you to talk to me. You can always say you do not, and hope the police will look out for your best interests. However, most cases will not resolve without you speaking to someone from the defense. Why? 95% of cases resolve extremely quickly. We cannot just take the cop's word for it, because we deal with these same individuals over and over, and know which ones will distort statements. If Trojanowski took your statement, I will inform the attorney to make no negotiation until I can speak with you. No DA gets the big promotion for making deals. If you are convicted of a second-degree murder with a firearm, you will never be released. Meaning that the DA will make you go to a 6-week trial, relive your presumably harrowing experience in front of strangers, be open to what can at times be devastating cross-examination, maybe a mistrial, maybe at least a pretrial hearing, but a lot of grief. The reason you will do all this because the prosecutor could have made a deal in which instead of first degree the person gets second degree murder with enhancements. The defense must get the best possible result for their client. There is no leeway, no breathing room. But for the DA, the one who is on your side has no interest in how a protracted series of legal hearings will affect you, only their status TLDR. Even though I work for the defense, I'm there to save you time. Unless I decide you were lying, in which case I'm gonna be all over you no matter what. Soccer referee over here. Unless you've been trained as a referee and have refed for many years and understand all 17 laws of the game, you most likely have no fucking idea what you're yelling on the sidelines. Watching soccer on TV and playing FIFA 2012 isn't remotely enough to understand the major rules of the game. The biggest misconceptions are regarding the offside rule. Contrary to popular belief, a player is allowed to be offside as long as he doesn't get the ball or shows intention of playing the ball. Also, a player in an offside position who comes back onside as the ball is being played to him is considered to be offside. A player in an offside position who comes back to make a tackle on the defender and dispossesses him will be called offside as well. A penalty shot can only be given in the instance of a foul or a deliberate handball in the box. A back pass to the keeper who picks it up is an indirect free kick, not a penalty shot. A high foot is considered a dangerous play, but will only earn you an indirect free kick unless the high foot kicked you in the face. If you put your head down and a player kicks the ball upwards, meaning his foot goes up to your now lowered face, the player who put his head down has caused the danger to himself and not the other way around, and the foul will be called against the player who almost ate a foot to the face. I've been reffing for over a decade, and yes, there is a terrible amount of bad referees out there. However, without referees, you wouldn't be able to have competitive soccer around the world. If you think you know it all from the sidelines, nothing prevents you from being certified and referring. Until then, let us do our job. TLDR, if you're not a certified soccer referee on the sidelines, you most likely have no idea what you're yelling to us. Not all theater/cinema seats are the same width. In order to make the row stagger, so you're not looking at the back of the person's head in front of you, and to make the aisles straight, we use varying widths of seats to pull this off. In the US, the chairs are literally varying in size. In Europe, the chairs are all the same size, but the distance between the armrests vary. Old, 50-plus-year-old theaters in the US can have seats that vary from 18-21 inches wide. Oldish theaters, 10 plus years, you'll see 19-22 inches, and in the last 10 years you'll generally see few 19 inches. But mostly 20-23 inch chairs. This is the center to center distance between armrests. Narrower chairs can go in if the owner is more concerned with seat count. One seat can be worth up to $16,000 a year in a theater. Now, the trick is to figure out how to get into a wider seat. If the aisles are straight, that is, parallel with the center line of the room, you can look at how many seats are in the row and pick seats in rows with fewer chairs. If the aces aren't straight, there isn't a good way to tell, but usually rows grow by a single chair per row. If you see a row that drops by 2 seats row to row, that's a row of wide chairs. Within the row itself, in the US, chairs will vary by 1 inch, usually alternating between a skinnier chair, say, a 21 inches, and a wider chair, say, a 22 inches. If you can walk the space before purchasing your seat, like, if you are buying season tickets, look carefully at the backs of the seats. Because rows tend to alternate in widths, the wider seats tend to stand out if you're looking for them. I've worked at a kitchen, book factory, Department of Transportation, toilet paper factory, temp agency, and currently a computer lab. So I'm going to go through a couple that surprised me. If you want to ask me something about my job, be my guest. While unions are great for people, they often hurt the quality of the job. There are some companies it works great for, but all the unions I've seen have hurt productivity in one way or another. There are usually 3 printings of a book to get out 1 edition. First you have the sample, which gets sent back to the publishers to make sure they like the format and everything. Then you have the advance copy that gets sent to the writer, publisher, retail outlets, and various people that want a free copy. And then the final purchasable copy. I actually have an unbound sample copy of its beginning to look a lot like Zombies 3 months before its release. When a road worker stops you, it isn't because he wants to, it's because he has to. I once stopped an old lady who tried to inch her way through my stop sign because she had a doctor's appointment at 11 and it was already 11:15. I told her, unless she can somehow vertically leap her car over a dump truck, she wasn't moving. If you are stopped at road construction, we are required by law to tell every car if the wait is going to be longer than 15 minutes. So calm yourself. Point regardless of what you say. I can't let you through a road construction if there is a dump truck in the road. Generally we keep one lane open and send you if there isn't anyone coming from the other side, but a lot of time there is equipment in the road that has to be finished before we can move. Emergency vehicles are the only exception. Blue light cars get priority, but aren't required. I work in the copy and print center at Staples. Believe it or not, most of us could not care less about trying to sign up customers for awards card / program. I'm sure this is true for nearly all other stores / businesses that try to nag you to sign up for their award program. However, our managers can track the percentage of customers that used rewards cards per employee in their transactions. And we are rated on it and nagged about it by our bosses. We aren't trying to be obnoxious when we try to push those cards. We are doing our jobs so we don't hear the end of it later. The same goes for protection plans that we have to try and sell to customers. Although some of the protection plans like the e-reader plans are actually a very good deal. Again, probably true for all other places. When we put you on hold, it's not some conspiracy that we are trying to purposely forget about you or make you wait. But you are not the only customers we have. My Staples is pretty small, and on average there can be only 5 people working the entire store at any given time. And it's usually only one person per department. And for a small Staples, we get a lot of business. Our only easy tech guy can't stop what he's doing with a customer to immediately answer your phone call about some question about ink point as someone in the CPC. We are supposed to charge for every little thing like cutting / trimming, charge per page, when you scan papers into a PDF, etc. if you're nice to me and are patient as I usually have to deal with 5+ customers at once, I won't charge you for the tiny things like cutting / trimming. But if you think you're the only customer in a rush, when there are several other people in line who are also in a rush, yes, I will nickel and dime you. I work in the copy and print center. I deal with copy and printing stuff. That does not mean I can tell you what type of printer you should buy, or that I can fix what's wrong with your extremely old / outdated printer. We have another department for that. Point. We have a RUPS drop off. And it sounds like common sense, but no, we cannot take FedEx prepaid boxes and labels that are for the actual post offices. I can't tell you how many people think I can take those, or that I'm trying to enforce a silly company rival policy. Our scanner literally cannot read FedEx / post office labels as it's made for UPS labels. If UPS could take other companies' labels, then what would be the point of having different companies? It's called self-serve for a reason. I don't have enough time to help you learn how to use the copier machine when it could have been all much quicker and easier just to have me run the copies myself, despite you being so insistent on using the self-serve just to save 2 pennies a copy. Point. A lot of this is common sense, but it baffles me that there are a lot of people out there who don't understand some of these things, and when I explain it to them, it's almost like it's a surprise. Elevator mechanic here. Couple of things to say. Point. All you have to do is push the button once. Yes, just once. The elevator will not come to your floor faster the more you push it. Point. The door close button, despite what people on Reddit says, does in fact work. It shortens the door dwell time circuit and makes the doors start closing sooner. It's literally impossible for an elevator to fall. The elevator actually has very precise control of the lift and has several electrical safeties as well as mechanical safeties to prevent it from falling. For any reason the brake fails to set correctly, the elevator will most likely fall upwards as the counterweight weighs more. Point. Escalators will kill or cut your child's feet, legs, or arms off. Do not allow children to play on them. I'm serious. We pull kids' feet, toes, and fingers out of units all of the time. They are very dangerous. Firefighters will not able to cut your child free all the time. Goes for adults too. When trapped in an elevator, there is no secret escape hatch that you can crawl out of. Most of the time, if you're stuck between floors, you're screwed anyways. If you manage to get the hatch open, code requires all escape hatch are locked from the outside to prevent retards from getting out of the cab. If you're stuck, the best thing you can do is wait. You're safer in the elevator than most places in the building. Throwaway here. I work as a CNA in an assisted living home for geriatrics in a company that operates assisted living homes throughout America. Going into the job, they claim to be the best in the industry, putting their staff at the highest priority and treating every resident that they care for as a member of their own family. This is egregious bullshit. This company, and I would suspect almost every other senior care company in America, are businesses as corrupt as any on Wall Street, with profits and executive payroll put before even the basic welfare of the residents that we are entrusted with. Case in point, every CNA that works in the home I work, no matter how much training they have or how many years they have worked for the company, only makes slightly more than minimum wage. On top of that, we are expected to do countless tasks that fall way outside of our job descriptions. Because few people are willing to do this sort of work with so little pay, we are constantly short-staffed. Because executive directors get bonuses for saving the company money, they will not provide overtime, no matter how neglected the residents are or how overworked the CNAs are. Because there is never enough help to go around, residents get sent to the hospital on a weekly basis from falls that we should have been fully capable of preventing. So our grandmothers and grandfathers are breaking their hips, backs, and oftentimes dying because executive directors don't want to hand out just a little extra cash. However, there is far from a shortage of money in assisted living homes. Where I work, residents are charged anywhere from $100 to $300 a day to live there. There is on average 10 residents in every section in our facility, and although they are supposed to all have 2 to 3 CNAs in each section, we almost always are left working alone. At minimum wage, a single resident could pay for the staffing in their cottage for all 10 residents. So where is rest of the money going? Well, some of it goes to the kitchen, but not very much. As much as our chef is committed to providing the very best meals he can, the diets of our residents are often limited by his budget. Some goes to pay our nurses, but since we never have more than 2 nurses for almost 100 residents, it's again not very much point. I've talked to people who are connected, the executives at the very top of the company. These people have visited their houses, and one thing is very clear, they're multimillionaires. Even the executive directors at each facility are treated very well. They make at least $120,000 a year, on top of a huge amount of bonuses I can only guess at. I do know that each executive director received a $7,000 fitness bonus in spring, so they could lose a few pounds for the summer. They always get a Christmas bonus of at least $3,000. Collectively all the CNAs where I work got $3,000 for a Christmas bonus, which worked out to be only $50 a person. However, this money was all donated by the families of our residents. The company refused to even match donations. Also, this year it turns out we won't be getting a Christmas bonus. A resident lost his hearing aid right when he moved in, and since our management accepted responsibility for them without even informing our staff that he had them, the company had to pay. At the next meeting, the CNAs were told that, because we had lost his hearing aid, the money to replace it will be taken out of this year's Christmas bonus, a bonus that was donated to us by families of people we care for, so our staff members, who often work 2 full-time jobs at minimum wage, can still afford to buy a few gifts for their children. That money was taken from us by management to replace lost hearing aids that were lost because management didn't bother to document or even tell us that a new resident had them. TLDR, the people who take care of your grandparents are probably filthy greedy pigs. I have worked at multiple sushi and or hibachi restaurants, and for one thing, I guarantee you 9 times out of 10 the owners are not Japanese. In fact, a lot of the time you will be lucky if any of the employees are Japanese, Koreans, Vietnamese, Chinese, Thai, Taiwanese. I've worked with them all. Also, out of all the restaurants I have worked at, these are amongst the dirtiest kitchens and nastiest habits. The cooks in the back are typically non-English speaking immigrants who are not trained properly in sanitation. No gloves, no washing hands, raw meat cut on the same table as salad is prepared, using expired ingredients, etc. They are also cheap, and they reuse plate decorations, and who knows what they have even touched, before they make it onto your plate. There were so many small ways they would rip off their customers, underpouring drinks, splitting beers for sake bombs, but charging full price, and I even worked for this restaurant who claimed to be a fine dining Asian fusion restaurant. But they also owned a Chinese to-go restaurant and more than half the menu was exactly the same. With smaller portions and more than double the price. The only difference was the way they plated the food, which I already told you that cute little orange carrot flower has probably been on 3 other plates that same day, and the cheap facade of a restaurant that is actually falling apart around you. It has been a while, so I can't even remember half of the stuff that used to enrage me, but I will tell you, you would be shocked. Used to work as a data entry beach for petitioning groups. If you sign a petition, even if you mean well / support the cause / want to help the petitioner, if you don't print your name, address, city or zip, or sign your name aren't a registered voter at the address you're signing with, don't make sure you're signing a page that's the county you live in, have messy, illegible handwriting, or have already signed the petition once. Your signature is not going to end up counting. If you care about the initiatives they are trying to put on the ballot, make sure you're filling everything out. Out of most people's turn-ins of work, only about 60-70%, maybe 75%, is actually usable signatures that end up being able to be sent to the group trying to raise the initiative point. It's super frustrating when someone has all the info filled out, and then when we look up their name, they are not registered at that address. Or they forgot something we have to pass the signature on. Also, if you're a petitioner and you try to fool us with fraud, we will notice, and you will get sent out on your ass. It happens seriously every time. We have 3 or 4 people whose job it is to notice weird things that could be fraud, and we are not going to take the chance half the time. Clients get really pissed if we let things like that slide, because they are paying us. Ex-personal trainer here. You are not drinking enough water. If you want to lose weight, diet is the major component, not exercise. Point: you are probably eating too much, a lot of which has very little nutritional value. I'm not saying exercise is not important, but very often people place greater emphasis on the workout than the diet. It should be the other way around. Feel guiltier about cheating on your diet than missing a workout. Not saying that the occasional cheat is awful. That being said, if you don't like it, don't force yourself to eat it, but find equivalent alternatives. And don't be afraid to try new vegetables or fruits you are unfamiliar with. Point: I personally never consume diet foods, except for the occasional diet cola. I don't trust the fake sugar, and diet yogurt does not satiate me the same way regular yogurt does. It's the portion size, not the fat content, that I watch for. Also, bagels are way too big. 1 bagel equals 4 servings of bread. Also, we are not doctors. If you are experiencing any sort of pain or discomfort, do not listen to anything that we say. See a medical professional. Same goes for diet. We can give you suggestions, but every person is different. See an actual nutritionist. That being said, crash dieting is absolutely horrible for you. Point: people who have had liposuction still gain weight. It all just goes to all the other places that have not had suction, including inside of their body around their organs. There is no exercise that will make your boobs less saggy. Lastly, do not underestimate the power of variety in low impact workouts. I have met people who have been running maniacally for years. A lot of times their figure is sort of average looking, and they don't appear to be that fit. They usually put a lot of stress on their body as well. Their body has become used to their workout. They have reached a plateau, and injuries are not uncommon. On the other hand, I've worked with mothers of 4 with amazing bodies that alternate between yoga, walking, a light swim, and bike rides with their kids. The most stress is maybe a 2-mile jog once or twice a week. They watch what they eat and can maintain this regimen for years. A lot of women get pregnant and deflate to around the same size they were before, give or take a few pounds, and natural maternity changes. So, being fit and healthy does not require torturing yourself on a regular basis, unless that is what you are into. But for the general public, and not the wild young guns, if a workout feels bad, stop it. You shouldn't feel like you are suffering. You should be keeping your heart rate up. If you want to stay motivated, do not kill yourself each workout. You won't want to go back. Make good dietary choices and choose activities that you can see yourself doing for a while. I would love to see what any other trainers have to add to this. Apparently quite a few people do not know this. An emergency department in the USA cannot refuse to see you. Even if you have an obviously bullshit complaint, a nurse is required to register you and let a doctor evaluate you. But I don't have insurance. Doesn't matter. Hell, the place I work at, we don't even know if you have insurance until you're discharged, unless you tell us yourself. And we do not give medical advice over the phone. Yes, I realize you have chronic back pain, but I can't advise you on what to do about it because I'm not familiar with your case. You could have a condition where our advice kills you because we don't know about it. On a related note, pain is not paresy in emergency. Yes, I know how much it hurts after you get a tooth pulled at the dentist, but all we are going to give you is some ibuprofen, test to make sure you don't need antibiotics, and send you home. We also aren't going to write you a new prescription to deal with your chronic back pain. You need to see your family physician, dentist, or pain management specialist to deal with those things now. If you're having new pain or worsening pain, that may be a different story. Just don't expect us to take you seriously when you complain of abdominal pain. Rate it a 10 out of 10 on the pain scale, and you're munching on a burger as you are walked back to the room. I've worked in many childcare facilities. I'm talking private childcare, not public schools, and the best thing I can tell parents is, put it in writing. So many times, parents would casually mention something important in the morning as they dropped off their kids. Oh, we found out Jimmy has a peanut allergy, so if he's even within 20 feet of PB&J sandwich he'll die. Bye, Jimmy. Have a good day. And while it may look as though the childcare worker is paying attention to you and knows it's important information, chances are it will not get passed on to the other workers. When you're chasing a dozen little kids all day, you don't have time to have actual conversations with the other adults in the room, and forget about making a phone call or emailing the front office. So write it down. This way we can post it for all the other workers to see, and it's a visual reminder for the person to talk to other workers about it. I've seen it too many times where the parents have given instructions on a change in diet or schedule, and it goes completely unnoticed because it's gone in one ear and out the other. Write it down. You're not being a nag, you're being super helpful. We really appreciate it. Also, let the childcare facility know they can call you about anything, anytime. I've worked in upscale, snotty private preschools and lower end daycares. They are all the same. They do not want to call parents because they don't want to nag or bother the parents. The kid could be screaming bloody murder and bleeding from the head, but the front office says, well, we don't want to bother the mom. They pay good money for us to handle this. Doesn't matter, we are not the parents. The parents have every right to know what is going on with their child, good or bad. My advice would be to specifically tell the office staff. The actual childcare workers in the room most likely don't have the authority to make phone calls to please contact you or whoever the guardian is whenever they have a question, no matter what. Tell them they are not nagging you, and that as the parent, grandparent, guardian, whatever, you really want to know what is going on with your child. TLDR, if you have a kid in daycare, write down all your instructions or changes in diet or schedules. Also make it very clear to the front office that they can always contact you, no matter what. The eyes is sometimes wrong. Not only that, but they misplace tons of paperwork. If you get an eyes notice, do not panic. First, get out your copy of the return that they are sending the notice for, because you kept a copy, because that's what you are supposed to do, and don't keep it on a computer. Keep a hard copy that is printed out and put away somewhere safe, and double check all the numbers that they have printed out on the letter. If they say that they didn't get a payment from you, first thing is to get a copy of the cancelled check. If you have the cancelled check and everything else looks right, just write a quick note, enclose a copy of the cancelled check, and ask them to update/review their records. If they say they didn't get a return from you, make a copy of your return, write a nice note, and include a copy of the certified receipt and return card saying when they originally received your first copy in their office. Oh yeah. You mailed it certified originally, didn't you? You should, or filed electronically. Just ask them to review and update their records. If it is something you can't figure out, and you can afford some peace of mind, call a CPA. If they can't get you in for an appointment before the date of response on your EYES notice, make the appointment anyways, and call up the 1800 number on the notice, to tell them you have an appointment with an accountant, to please place a hold on this matter. They will do that 99% of the time. Your CPA will most likely have you sign a power of attorney to discuss tax matters with the eyes on your behalf at your first meeting. Also, if you are trying to help an elderly parent or someone who is open enough to share their eyes troubles with you, don't call the eyes for them. They won't talk to you without a power of attorney. Have them tell the agent that they have trouble with matters like that, but that they have someone who can speak to the eyes on their behalf, and pass you the phone. Sometimes you'll get a nice agent who will accept that point. TLDR, don't panic. If you get an eyes letter, they make mistakes too. And remember, sometimes it's better to pay a professional the first time, so you don't have a mess later. Call center in the finance industry. This is Australia, so may not apply to everyone else. Point loans with a fixed end date, such as mortgages. Calculate minimum repayments based on the balance of the loan, the interest rate, and the amount of repayments left. Of the three, the least important is your interest rate. Moving to a place that will give you a 0.05% better interest rate will save modest amount over the life of the loan. But if you have 25 years left on the loan and the new loan needs to be paid off in 20, your repayments will go up by quite a lot. The majority of your mortgage repayments go towards the interest you've been charged, particularly at the start of the loan. Paying even a little more than the minimum will help immensely. We can offer you discounts on interest rates if you haven't been too naggy and never go into arrears. We're not allowed to give advice by law, but I can share a story about a customer who'd worked out how much they could comfortably pay off their home loan over a year and had set up a fixed/variable split with the majority of their home loan fixed for 1 year at the low interest rate, and the rest, the amount they could comfortably pay off over a year, in a variable loan. Every year she'd call up and transfer some money across, then refix the larger amount. See, fixed loans are a lower interest rate most of the time, but one of the conditions is that there are maximum repayments you're allowed to make. This gets the best of both worlds. You get the lower interest rate also. For Australians, I know how annoying it is to be asked personal questions when we call, but it's unfortunately the privacy law and we can't be sure it's actually you on the line. Troubleshooting tech for a satellite TV company. When you call about your TV service, don't be an asshole. Nothing that is happening to your service is my fault. Our phone calls do get monitored, and we are scored on them. We have certain criteria we have to meet on every phone call to score well. For example, our greeting has to be the same every time. We have to say where we are located, all in the US, and we have to ask how you are doing. Please don't cut us off. It is rude and won't save you any time. When we ask you what is wrong, if there is a message on the screen, read it off word for word. There are several messages that can come up that are similar, but not the same, and the troubleshooting is different. We are required to pull up a script that matches the issue and lose points if we don't. Fun fact though, we have to hit every step on the script. If they are applicable to the issue, we don't always do them in order, nor are we just reading it off. We have to ask you if we have addressed all your issues on the call. We get that we don't fix everything. It is impossible to fix everything, but we do address everything. Don't be an asshole and say, well, it isn't working, so no. There are always free things available. If you're nice, you're likely to have something offered to you. Troubleshooting always goes faster when you cooperate. Something that takes 6 to 8 minutes, when you actually do what I ask without arguing, will take 10 to 20 if you do argue, or I know you're not doing what I ask. On a related note, most of us ask if you've done any troubleshooting before calling. We won't ask you to repeat a step you've already done, because it saves us time and we are scored off that too. The exception is, if we do another step, that then requires the repeat of something you've already done. So when we ask you to tell us everything. If you don't, then you say you've already done something we ask you to do later on. We will not believe you. It is not in our best interest to keep you on the phone for a long time. We want to get you on your way as soon as possible. In reference to the SWAT team and other specialized units, this is mostly accurate, but can differ based on the size of the department. In many cases, particularly with smaller departments, city, village, and town, your theory applies. However, when talking about the actual sheriff's department of a large county, the SWAT team, known here as the SRT, Special Response Team, is a specialized unit that often trains for a significant portion of their day. SRT members may be assigned to other divisions for a limited amount of time. Possible temporary assignments could include working with the RID, Robbery Intervention Detail, or TNT, Tactical Narcotics Team, or the Court Services Bureau, if they are serving evictions. The county sheriff's department here has 44 specialized divisions. Generally, the SRT members on loan are providing backup and support for potentially dangerous operations. Regarding small-scale police departments, yes, the SWAT team is usually a group of volunteer officers who don't receive much out of their membership aside from an extra pin to wear on their uniform. Additionally, it is not entirely unheard of to have officers from multiple departments deploying together as a SWAT unit depending on certain factors. Furthermore, depending on the state and their respective law enforcement standards organization, AL's Peace Officer Standards, and Training Commission *S Police Standards Council, Arizona*S Arizona Peace Officers Standards and Training Board, etc., these factors may vary even further. Worked in a call center for years. Credit card, furniture delivery, fun facts. For stupid non-escalatable issues, we will rarely transfer you to an actual supervisor or manager. They can't be bothered to speak to someone because their delivery came 10 minutes late. More likely than not, you will simply speak to my colleague who has the same, if not less, experience than I do. Management does not know we do this, but a lot of customers bitch for stupid reasons and seem to feel better swearing at someone who is in authority. Supervisors in call centers are just people that have been there many years, and they have a teeny tiny little bit more discretion. I've had clients ask for a supervisor, I transfer them, and they are actually speaking to someone with less experience than I have. Managers are rarely there on the weekend. The places I've worked, they were all MF9-5 when calling your credit card company. No, we cannot discuss your husband's account with you if your name isn't on it. We have to sell. It sucks, but we have to try as our calls are listened to, and we lose a lot of percentage if we missed a selling opportunity. Rather than be rude, kindly say that you're not interested. Credit card companies are not out to get you. If there are interest or fees, there's a reason for it, and we'll gladly explain. All call centers I worked for are extremely customer focused. We have training, seminars and role playing to learn how to give a good service. If the agent you're talking to is rude, 99% of the time it's the agent who doesn't care about you, not the company. If you're on hold for a long time, it may be because the computer froze, or we are on hold with another department. Yelling at me because you waited a while is entirely useless. If you hear the agent hesitate while they are talking, or take a brief pause, it's not because they are incompetent or not sure of what they are saying. There are a lot of pop-ups that occur on the screen, and we have to read them. When we put you on hold to verify your account, we can still hear you and what you're saying. Sometimes some policies absolutely suck. No policy will please 100% of clients, but they are there for a reason. Credit card companies and banks especially have to follow federal regulations and comply with compliance and auditing. If you don't feel like sending your request in writing or holding the line because a manager must approve something, please just bear with us. We do what we have to, even if we know it's not convenient for you. When applying for a credit card, please do not call the same day to see if you were approved. It takes time to approve, and you're causing higher call volumes. Be patient. Oftentimes, Phone agents will not see or be able to look up what you've sent in writing, depending on the department. In huge call centers, departments are somewhat disconnected, and agents have no idea what the agents in other departments do.